I'm gonna go to live on Facebook. I'm just gonna put like your bio in the title. I think I can do that. I feel so organized today. Weird. Not normal for me.
I love it. I love that.
You know what?
I love your dream catcher.
Thank you. When I do healings, I used to do them in person. I would take the energy and I would throw it in that, and it would catch it, like the negative. Like it really works. Okay, so Marcela,
Oh wow.
Topf.
Topf, yeah.
I'm just putting your bio in the.
Okay.
Right, and then that'll be enough for now. And then put your links in the. I'll go back and do that. Sound good?
Okay.
Okay. So let's just go live right now.
Yay!
Okay. And then we'll share it out on our pages if we want to. Feel like we are live. We are live. Yay.
We are live.
Here, I have my headphones in. Okay. So, welcome, Marcela.
Hi.
How are you?
I am so happy to be here with you today.
Me too.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So what I'm going to do is just take a minute to share this out on my business page, and same thing if you want to do that as well. And so anybody else that's watching that wants to share this with more people, we really appreciate it. So we'll just take a minute. This is a perfect opportunity to take a few deep cleansing breaths for anybody that needs it, just because it's the holidays. And that's kind of what I feel like we're going to be discussing today, is a little bit about mental, emotional, spiritual, and even maybe some physical health overall in general. I know it's a really tough time for a lot of people currently. And so Marcela is going to discuss more about her business and her beauty and all the amazing things that she does. But we're also probably going to do a little exercise too, in terms of maybe something active that people can do as well. So I'm being slow as molasses here. I'm on Robin's healing project. But it feels like that's the mindset right now for everybody, to just slow down.
Slow down.
So share to a page. So my name is Robin, for people that don't know that already. I am a healer and coach, and I help people with, very similar to Marcela, with body, mind, and spirit. I have tons of tools in my toolbox. I really just tap in intuitively to what people need and help them release it and move forward in whatever shape or form that means for them. I help males, females, children, the elderly, doesn't matter who they are. And yeah, that's me. So Marcela, if you want to take it from here, let me know. Let us
Thank you. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Robin. I'm so excited to be here with you today, to have this conversation. My name is Marcela Topf. I am a licensed mental health counselor and a coach. And I have been helping people for over 20 years now. And it is an honor and a privilege to share a little bit about, this journey And actually to come live today and talk about my messy middle, like, you know, we love to show up so polished on Facebook, you know, and to show the best parts of our lives. But in true 2020 fashion, I think this year has been the ultimate truth serum for me, and it has been such a beautiful catalyst for growth. So I am honored to partner up with hardworking moms that want to fall in love with their lives again, fall in love with their families again, and just enjoy life, find more love and happiness and joy, and you know, figure out their own special blueprint for being a mom. I think being a mom is one of the greatest gifts I've received in my life, but it can also be the most challenging one. So I want to share some of the biggest takeaways that I've had for this year that have helped me get through so many personal things like cancer, divorce, and this pandemic, all rolled up in one year. And so if I could do it, anybody can do it.
I love that. So you've had cancer?
Yeah, I was diagnosed with cancer. So I was coming off of a massive high. I went with my brother to Tony Robbins. If you've ever been to Tony Robbins, he's spectacular. And we were coming off of this emotional roller coaster, just like so moved. And on the last day, I woke up and I had been monitoring this mole on like underneath my eye for like a year. And the doctor that had seen me about a year ago was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. We'll just keep an eye on it. And this is one of my biggest takeaways to all my ladies out there listening is trust yourself, trust your gut. When something doesn't feel right, listen to yourself. And the last day of Tony Robbins, of course, there's like massive crying. You cry like every day, 500 times. So the last day I woke up and I looked in the mirror and I noticed it felt different. It just felt different, Robin. Mm-hmm. And I was like, holy shit, I need to get this looked at like soon. And and right there, I this is another one of my biggest takeaways, pray, like the power of prayer. In that moment, I just said, God, help me find someone really good that's going to help take care of me. Mm. And as soon as I got to Tony Robbins, there was a friend of mine who I kept seeing, but she was never in my section. We were always like in different sections. And so we'd be waving from afar. And that day she was standing right in front of my row. And I walked up to her and she was talking to a woman. And I was like, hey, how's it going, honey? How are you? Big hugs, kisses. And she's like, oh, let me introduce you to the world's greatest dermatologist. And I was like, oh, and there you go. Like within like an hour of me having asked God, like, help me find someone. And she was led right to me. And so within a month, I was able to get in, have the surgery, recovered beautifully. And so, you know, it was very quick, but it was a huge, huge shock. You never think you're going to hear those words. But that prompted me to seek out the experts that I get to work with to help me. And so I'll talk a little bit about how that experience helped me stay healthy throughout this pandemic.
I love that. You're just giving me chills from head to toe. Like sometimes I'll get a couple chills, but that's like all through my body. So, wow, that's amazing. And just a quick little story. Like I've only prayed a couple times in my life and earlier on, and it was because I felt like I needed it at the time. And one thing I would just recommend to people is don't wait till there's a reason to pray, like add it into your daily practice, because since I've started adding that into my more, we'll say, routine, amazing miracles, like not to the extent of yours, but have really, you know, like just beautiful things that you would never expect to happen. So thank you for sharing that. But mine was around sickness too. I prayed, and you know, because you get so low that you have almost, I guess, for some people, nowhere else to go. So you go towards prayer. And within a day, my prayer was answered as well. And that's how I started on my health journey in natural medicine, basically. So if I didn't get sick, I wouldn't have started literally my entire like life changing
Journey. Yeah.
business too. So I mean, we see blessings in that. So I'm sure that's what you're about to talk about anyway. But yeah, the blessings that come from the sickness, just for people that are sick right now. I know I do have clients that have cancer right now. And, and I know people lose hope too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that support as what you provide support for other people during those really heavy times where their prayers aren't being answered. They sometimes need that extra little lift and light at the time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Absolutely. No, and no, I love that you're sharing that, Robin. I love that you're sharing that because I think one of my biggest takeaways from not just 2020, but my life in general, and it's one of the things that I teach all my clients, is the quality of the questions that we ask ourselves shapes the quality of our lives. Like it really impacts our lives. So when I received the diagnosis, the first thing you feel is like the hit. It's like you get punched in the gut. And even though, like my sorry, my dermatologist was like, of all the cancers to have, that's the best one to have. Like, you're like, okay, but when people go to why me, why did this happen to me? Because I could have gone into a very powerless position because I was in the middle of a divorce and thinking, great, like this on top of everything I'm living. And it was like, no, like, I'm like, let me breathe. Let me process what I'm feeling. And then I was like, and you know what, God, like, I'm going to find the blessings in this. I'm going to find, show me what it is I need to learn. Like, give me the tools. And this was something that I have a friend who I love, who she says that she thinks of me every morning because one day we were at an event and she said, oh, I pray to God. Every day I ask him for patience. And I was like, no, don't ask for patience because then he's going to keep giving you stuff to exercise your patience. I said, ask for the tools. Ask him for the tools. And like a light bulb went off for her. And she's like, every day I ask for the tools and I think of you. And so I think that is so many blessings came to me from that experience, but it was because I was looking for it. I was looking for the blessings. And I think that changes everything. Perspective changes everything. So this year, even though it's been like massive transformation for me, it's also had the biggest blessings.
And I feel like everybody can look at their 2020 because we are coming up to the end of the year, or Christmas and all this, I'm going to say, chaos going on. In the midst of the chaos, I think if you can, exactly what you just said, okay, what are some of the changes that have occurred as a result of all of these negative things in the world, in your own personal life? And where were you in January of 2020 versus December 2020? As you said, what are some of the skills that I developed and the tools as a result of this? Because I do feel like a lot of people feel like a lot of shame right now if they're not maybe working and they feel like they're not as productive or all that stuff. Well, it's forced a lot of people to have to change. And I know December 21st for a lot of people, astrologers and things like that are discussing how we're going through this big, huge shift like we've never gone through before. So if you haven't been feeling the shifts already, even in December, we're going to get our biggest shifts. So I think often, would you agree that it's how we handle the things that are coming at us, how we're looking at it, and how we're learning to adapt and adjust to this new societal way as a whole instead of also separated.
Totally. So it's So this is the thing. Sorry.
You're
Sorry,
clearing
guys.
your throat.
I know that's like my communication wants to come out.
Good.
Um, I think it's safe to say, in life, there's always going to be something, like I hear it so much when, my clients come in and they have a safe place to talk and they'll be like, oh my God, will this ever get easier? Like, why is there always something and then something and then something? And I just think when we embrace, the nature of us being in growth and evolution and expansion, I think it was Darwin who said that the species that survive aren't the strongest or the smartest. It's the ones that are the fastest to adapt. And so for me, this year, and just, as long as I've started my spiritual journey, has been, okay, here's a new challenge. Here's like, so you could see it like, this is the same situation, right? I could say, this is a problem, or I could say, this is a situation, or I could say, oh, here's an opportunity for growth and mastery, right? So here's like a negative, more neutral, and more positive way of looking at the same thing. So I choose, obviously we're human, and sometimes my human is like, oh, great. But I try to catch myself, and then I try to go into neutral and then go into the positive. So when I'm in the positive, I have the ability to extract myself, and I have like that bird's eye view, and I can say, all right, let me settle in. And this was key for me this year, which was grounding, like helping my body relax and adjust to all the changes. And as women, this is really important because there's a reason why the saying that it takes a village to raise a family. For women, it's because we biologically produce, I think it's 50% less serotonin than men by nature. So we need multiple streams of support to help us feel whole. We need our friends, our family, our hobbies, our work, like our partners. Like we need so many different things that keep like that fill us with love and support so that we can be at our best. So when it's so funny because when we are at our most spent, like when we are starting to feel angry, resentful, exhausted, is when we have like the least amount of access to our resources energetically. So it's when you want it the most, and it's when you have the least access. So what I teach my moms is, I'm like, I know this sounds so counterintuitive, but when you're stressed, I need you to stop and be kind to yourself. So in the moment they stop and relax and they recharge, everybody starts to help out. Everything starts to work out. Like everything starts to line up like magic. And they're like, how does that happen? And I'm like, because it's vibration. It's all energy. And so when you're in that victim energy, just more difficult things show up. Right. And so
a question, because you're talking a lot about like shifting the mindset and all that stuff, but what are just to be more specific with people that like it's like, yeah, easier said than done, like if I could just change my mindset, I'd just change my mindset. Like what are some actual, and you're kind of going into like self-love, things like that. So just for people that are like really just starting like square one, like they might be at rock bottom in their life financially, emotionally, feeling really insecure and lacking tools, what would be some really simple basic tools to help you? Like what are the things that you would do to change your mindset or focus on that self-love that you'd recommend?
So that's a great question, Robin. So this is how I explain it to my clients. So I explain to them how everything is energy and vibration and what that looks like. Because I'm a visual person, so I like visuals. So I tell them, I want you to picture a big, beautiful building. And where you are.
So I'm going to do this right now.
Yes.
Okay.
So imagine you're this big, beautiful building, and where you are energetically is the elevator. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when the elevator is at the lowest, it's in the basement. And when you find yourself in the basement, it's dark, dusty, not a lot of light, not very pretty, might see some bugs. It kind of sometimes feels a little creepy, echoey, like it's not great. But let's say you do something. So in an energetic world, what the equivalent to us is when we're angry, upset, afraid, frustrated, like when our vibration is low and our energy is low and we feel helpless or hopeless. So this is at the lowest. This is the F me moment of life. Now, let's say in that moment, I tell my clients, I don't want you to make any decisions, because all decisions you make at that level are going to match it. The only decision you need to make at that moment is to get out of the basement. And so they say, okay, so how do I get out of the basement?
Can I share what I'm experiencing?
Yes.
Just so, because it's interesting just to have support. When I went, because I'm very visual, when I went down to the basement, my first reaction was, I want to get out of there.
Exactly.
As quickly as I can. But that felt panicky. Mm-hmm. So I knew it's okay to, told myself, it's okay to be down here. You don't need to run away. Mm-hmm. So, and then the other thing that I got was somebody passing me money. I saw somebody literally passing me money, and it's like, okay, receive.
Oh, I love that.
So it's interesting that you're kind of saying, don't make any decisions. But I was getting more inspiration, more answers. And that's why I love these exercises so much, because I think when you have support one-on-one, something you might not do by yourself, but even right now, if other people can join on this train right now watching or in the replay, you might get some inspiration that even though you're not making a decision, you're still in a receiving good energy. Yes. Especially being on here with both of us, because I like to think being in our presence is holding a lot of support for people, even through technology. So
yes. Oh my God, Robin, I love that.
So sorry, what else happens now?
Oh God, Robin, I love that. That's exactly, oh my God. So this is very cool, doing this with a fellow healer and an intuitive, because that's exactly what needs to happen in the basement, is just to receive, really receive and replenish. So in that moment is when you can go outside. When I'm having a basement moment in my life, I will do exactly what I'm doing right now. I will come outside. I will put my feet in the grass. I will put my hands on a tree. I will take 5 deep breaths. If it's really bad, I'll go take a nap. I'm like, F this, I need a nap. I need a major reboot, so it's a moment to replenish, to go for a walk, get something healthy, nourishing to eat, to fuel your body, whatever in that moment. So I love the example of right after you have lunch, that you're like, what do I want? What do I want?
Chocolate.
That feeling, exactly. Do I want coffee, a latte,
cigarette,
chocolate? So in that moment, that feeling is what I help my clients tune into, to identify that feeling of what do I need. So in the basement, it depends. It depends on your love languages. You might need a hug. You might need somebody to hold you and tell you everything's going to be okay. You might need to cry. It's what you need in that moment to release some of that pain or sadness or frustration, and then just elevate to the next level.
So I have a question, because this keeps coming up. There's somebody that's going to be watching, or more than one, that struggles with the energy of shame. So again, some of these things are easy to say, but there are a lot of people where they're still hiding that they have issues. And what do you say to people that have a lot of shame and embarrassment, I guess, around being who, like, kind of who are struggling, like they're being who they are, but at the same time, because they're struggling, they're kind of trying to put on this face, or they're like, just, they're scared to reach out.
So I'm glad you bring that up, because I think all of us have to like love that piece of us that feels shame. And it's just very gentle. It's like baby steps, to I think at first it's very helpful to find, those surrogates that help us love us, find loving, caring. So for example, this year, I mean, if you want to talk about shame, here I am, considered this family parenting expert going through a divorce. So it's like
I'm laughing not at you, I'm laughing with you.
so I mean, I get it. Because when we're little, we're taught, that there's this expectation of you that has to be met. We're not allowed to be imperfect. Being human is all our contradictions. It's like when the moon is not full, we don't get mad at her. We're like, how dare you? You're not full tonight. It's like
some people might. Just kidding.
Yes, you're probably right. But most of us are understanding that the moon has phases, just like the tide in the ocean.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the most important things I did for myself this year was surrounding myself by really loving, gentle people, like really loving, gentle people who could mirror back that love to me. So then I can do that to myself.
I love that. So, okay. So again, going back to, we'll call it people's rock bottom.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they have money, because I know money is an energy, but in their reality, they look at their bank account and they're minus $100,000, and they keep repeating that focus, but their parents just died, and like they're grieving a loss, and it's the holidays, like people are in their lows, like I guess, like, how do you start creating support and good people and friends and new family, and like, where do you begin when you feel like you're in an energy of loss and lost at the same time? Because
I love that.
It's like an empty hole,
Yeah, I'm so glad you bring that up. And it's so I'm having like a visual of something that I lived. And it was, when I was in college, my parents went through a huge financial hit. And I'll never forget, like I went from, like, it was like the little princess. Like I went from, living a very, very, very affluent lifestyle, very blessed, to, like being at the bottom of the totem pole. And I'll never forget, like I was like waiting on a corner for a bus to get to my job, and it was raining, and I remember seeing like my alter ego, like another college girl in this beautiful little car, just waiting at the stoplight. And I remember seeing her, and I'm like, and you know what I thought in that moment? I said, one day I'm gonna be in a car, and one day I'm gonna remember what it felt like to not have a car, and I'll be able to help those that need my help. Like this experience, like I'll never forget this experience, and one day I'll pay it forward. So it's like I fast forwarded into the future, into a powerful place.
That's why I asked you to come on here and talk. Because it's inspiring. I find you always are honest and raw with things, and I think that that's the biggest thing that you can ask of somebody, is to just be honest. And I think that that's really, really scary for a lot of people to speak their truth and be in their truth, because we live in a society, as you said, where there is a lot of judgment on social media. And, you know, people tend to fake live online, because I'm not saying everybody does, but a lot of people recently have been saying to me, wow, you just come on and you just speak. Okay, well, isn't that what you do in life? You just like, you know, when you go and you talk to a friend about how you feel, you don't have a script. You just speak from your heart. So I think do you agree that it's really scary for people to just speak from their heart these days and just like really just be honest? Like, do you feel that?
Yes, I think I laugh because one of my clients that I love, like we have this conversation because whenever I tell her, like, I want you to shine your light, like she, you know, there's a fear of not appearing genuine. You know, there's a fear of like, where's the line of, I don't want people to just think like my life is perfect. And it's like, I think it's all of it, you know. Yes, there's so much good in our life and there's mess, you know what I mean? And I think when we can be honest about both, I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's a gift we give ourselves. So like, I was torn about coming on your show today.
It's not a show.
Well, it is. If there's one person out there watching, it's a show. So it's because here I was, I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, Marcela, you're in the middle of a move. Like literally, you're crazy, right? But there was something inside of me that just said yes. And it was like a hell yes. It was like, and then afterwards I was like, what did you do? What did you do? You're moving. But I was like, you know what? Maybe there's a reason why my soul jumped the gun and didn't even think about saying, hey, can we do this for after the move and later? I was like, no, maybe this message is meant to be heard by someone. Like maybe there's someone out there that needs to hear that it's okay when everything is messy.
Yes.
That it's okay when we're in that process of like getting to our destination. And that it's okay to celebrate it and love ourselves, like in spite of, like we don't have to wait to get the gold star and for everything to be perfect to celebrate and to talk about what's happening.
Yeah, you're touching on a few things, because part of it is I feel like a lot of times people aren't very accepting of other people because they're not accepting of themselves.
Amen, girl.
And yeah, like, and they lack that trust within themselves, and therefore they lack trust in others. So it feels like a combination of trusting and accepting, like you're saying, your intuition is guiding you. But a lot of people, as you said, do a lot of that negative self-talk because fear is creeping up. And so how do you distinguish, this might be a heavy question, but how do you distinguish the difference between, I call it the ego, but I feel like you would just call it fear. How do you distinguish the difference between fear and that intuitive nudge?
Ooh, this is such a good conversation. I'm loving it. Okay. So this is again, I go back to what I teach because it's how I live, you know, it's what I live by.
Yeah.
So I believe in the importance of having like foundations, or having like these universal formulas to live by. So like, I know, so in those moments of confusion, I can always go back to, what do I know is the truth? So I know that almost everything we do comes from a place of either love or fear, right? So that's one of my truths. And in those moments of confusion or fear, I'll stop myself and I'll ask myself, you know, are you making this decision from a place of fear, or are you making this from a place of love? And the other question I ask myself is, how are you going to feel about this decision in 20 years? So again, one of my favorite techniques is to fast forward into the future. Like I'll go into the future and I'll imagine myself like looking back on this moment and did I make the right decision for myself?
Okay, so can we do an exercise on that?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'll give you an example of something that just happened.
Okay.
So my mom, my and you and I shared this with you guys in our group, but my grandmother recently had a heart attack. And my passport is somewhere packed in all of my stuff. Like my passport has always been by my bedside for like the last 15 years, but somehow right now I was meant to stay put. So I couldn't go, but my mom was able to get there. But she was freaking out. She was freaking out about she had work and she already had her vacation scheduled. So it wasn't like she was just between a rock and a hard place, right? So there's one thing I knew about working with kids for so long that, and I didn't realize this. This was like actually a blessing. So moms and kids are like, children can feel their parents' vibration.
Oh yeah.
And so if a mom is freaking out, the kid feels that.
Mm-hmm.
She might not be saying it. She might be like, just, you know, cupcakes and rainbows are coming out of her mouth, but inside the child feels what's inside. Mm-hmm. So the same thing was happening to my grandmother and my mom. My grandmother wasn't like, she wasn't doing great, and my mom was freaking out, and I was like, shit, how do I help my mom relax? And I told her, I was like, Mom, if you like, because it was work was freaking her out, and I said, you need to make a decision that you're going to be okay with in 20 years. Okay. I know this job. So I have ADHD. And so one of the things with ADHD is you have 20 things in your brain and they all think they're important. Like they all seem to be important. And so one of the keys is to understand, like prioritize, like, yes, this, like taking out the trash and filing my taxes might feel equally important. You know what it's like? It's like, but they're super important. And it's like, no, there's one more important than the other right now.
Right.
So
that's wonderful that you kind of just answered the question. There is really weighing out your pros and cons. You didn't say it quite like that, but you're saying like almost like numbering things like priority wise based on how you're going to feel in the future, so there are no regrets.
Exactly.
So you're not being like mad at yourself the next day. And I know that this is ridiculous to share, but The Bachelorette is my favorite show. Don't judge me. And last night there was a guy on there that got sent home because he couldn't say I love you. He shared with his friend 5 minutes before that he loved her, but when it came to him actually getting it out, he just couldn't. And one part of me thought he wasn't meant to, and that's why he physically couldn't get it out. But there's obviously a learning lesson for him, because maybe he wasn't meant to spiritually, but he was meant to learn that moving forward was something he was meant to do. So instead of him beating himself up for the rest of his life, he can see it as the learning, that there's a learning lesson, because sometimes they call it happy mistakes, right? Sometimes there's a reason why we can't get something out, you know, and it's not because you didn't build the courage. It just maybe the time wasn't right. I think the timing of everything, if we believe there's a timing for everything, and we can kind of learn when we feel like we've screwed it up instead of beating yourself up. Because if you're ADHD and you're always getting all this energy coming to you all the time, it would be so easy to like blame it on that or beat yourself up or be like there's something wrong with you, instead of just seeing that as something that is a blessing and seeing the positive that comes from it, which means you're extra creative, you're extra intuitive, because you get extra downloads, and it's just a matter of how you manage the extra.
Yes.
And seeing that you're extra special instead of there being
Something wrong with you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I love the prioritizing energy of, you know, like I guess for me, I see it as a lesson. Yeah. What is it to me? The way I work too is, yeah. So what is the lesson that I've learned from these past experiences instead of hanging on to regret? You know, if you can't come up with something that good that came from the bad, going back into what we were saying before, that's something you want to look really deep into. If you can't see one thing that good that came from, you know, blah blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's something that helps me decide, is when I go into the future and I tell myself, like, will this decision, and you know what? I think if we let the things that happen around us help shape us, you know, for good, it nothing is ever wasted. Nothing is ever wasted. Even the difficult, painful experiences become huge parts of who we are, like blessings. And I think moms, like women, we're very prone to burnout. You know, we because of guilt, because of our expectations of ourselves, society, like so many things, women have a tendency to keep going and not stopping, you know, until the point of them hurting themselves. And I saw this, you know, in somebody that I knew many years ago. She was, you know, like an office manager, the typical woman who was just like, I, you know, she always had to be the one to do everything. And she was, and I think women wear that with a badge of honor, you know, that they do so much, and they feel so proud or accomplished. And you said something really important earlier about shame. And I think as we accept ourselves and love ourselves, not by what we do, but just because we are, everything changes. Because when we're tying our self-love to what I do, it's like a pageant. It's like, you know, this unhappy pageant that you're never going to win because there's always something else to do. And I'll never forget, she died from a heart attack at 40 something and left 2 kids behind. And so after that experience really shaped me, because I was like, you know, and in the moment, back to the 20 things all seem important, she probably thought, I have to do all this. I have to do all this. And the truth is, life moved on without her. Like, she didn't have to do all the things that she did.
The weight of the world.
And yes, but she thought she had to. And so that's like one of my biggest messages to my moms is, no, you think you have to be the one to do everything. You think it has to be done a certain way. But I help moms tap into sometimes getting out of their own way, because sometimes we're just so set in our ways. It has to be done a certain way. And I think that's one of the things that I've had to embrace this year, is just like, you know, just embracing getting it done. How it gets done is different. So it's allowing help, allowing things to look differently, and being receptive to, again, I think it's that ability to adapt to change and embrace change and not resisting it so much.
So, couple questions. So is it asking for help, as in like, you know, kind of what I was saying, is it learning how to accept help and ask for help, aka like receive, instead of always being the giver, know what it looks like and feels like to just be the one who just sits back and enjoys and watches everybody else work and not feeling guilty and shameful?
All of that. So it's one, I think we're working on our boundaries. You know, we're working on getting better boundaries. So like, when women get angry, when women are upset or resentful or start screaming, it's because think of, we have an emotional bank account. You are on overdraft. Like, you have overextended yourself and you are completely emotionally depleted. And that's why we go into anger. So, and then when women are, so when we're in depletion, it can manifest like anger. When we're in fear, it can manifest like control. So whenever we are like at that bottom of the reserve, and we'll get back to the building analogy in a minute, but when we're at that bottom of the reserve, the first thing is recognizing the feeling early enough to verbalize it and set a healthy boundary. So like last night, I was like exhausted. I was checking my son's homework, doing laundry. I still had to take a shower. Like, it was like so much stuff going on. And my mom, we were hanging out together, she looks at me and she's like, could you try this thing on and I'm like, I looked at her and I was like, Mom, I still have all this stuff to do. So no, I love you, but no, I will not be trying that on right now. Thank you. So it's like, when we can't set that healthy boundary early is when we explode. So the first thing is set the healthy boundary early enough before you lose your shit. And then ask for what you want. So women will not have a tendency, we have a tendency to not ask for what we want, but complain instead of just saying, it looks like this. Oh my God, nobody takes the trash out. I'm the only one instead of just saying, I would love it if somebody could take the trash out, or I'd love it if the trash got taken out. Like, if we just say what we want instead of complaining or fighting or accusing or blaming or shaming or judging, you know what I mean? Like, if we go into just the essence of what we need, people are so much more receptive to give it to us.
Kind of goes back to you saying, ask for the tools for patience instead of just asking for patience. Yeah, as if there's something wrong. Again, if there's something wrong with you that you don't have it, it's just it's a learned behavior that you haven't quite mastered yet. And for people, like, going back into we didn't discuss intimate relationships, but I feel like they're all attached, like boundaries in general. But I like what you said is you have to kind of start these learned behaviors of you have to train people how to treat you at the beginning. So if you don't know how you want to be treated, right, and you're not communicating that, setting that intention or whatever, putting it out there, then it might be people start to feel walked over, taken advantage of, it's out of balance. But some people, I feel like they get in maybe 2 years into the relationship, they say they start seeing the true colors, whatever. Or like, what would you recommend people how do you reverse what's happened in the last 2 years?
So, okay. So the science behind that is fascinating, of why that happens. So when we first meet somebody and we are infatuated and we're super attracted to the person, the part of your brain that is responsible for judgment is offline. So this is Mother Nature's way of helping us procreate, so that you see the flaws in the other person and you're like, oh, I still think he's cute.
And then later you go, like, that was a red flag.
Exactly. And so what happens is that 2 years, it literally takes your brain 2 years after for that part of your brain to start to come back online. And so once that part of your brain is now activated, then you start to see all those little things that you were like, oh my gosh, this really does bother me. So one is understanding the science behind that. The second is understanding how choice works. So true love is no longer that infatuation. That's just chemistry.
Right.
True love comes from a place of choice, of saying, I choose to look at everything I love about this person. I choose to pay attention to everything that is good about them and how they make me better.
I love that. I feel like compassion, would you say, is
Yeah.
kind of what
Yeah.
that's like, accepting people, not constantly trying to change them, but embrace what you love about them, and
Yeah.
probably tell people that you love them, tell people things that you like
Yeah.
about them, share the good stuff so
Yeah.
they can also build their self-esteem and their confidence up in the relationship, not to
Yeah.
boost your ego, but just
Exactly.
to let them know how you're constantly feeling. And I feel like a
Exactly.
lot of women, you know, are considered, I don't like to say this, but I'm saying it, like, needy because they need to be reassured, where it's like men need to be reassured too. Family members need
Hmm.
to be reassured too, just because, or children, whatever it is, because everybody likes to hear "I love you" a million times a day. I don't really
Well,
feel like you can smother people with love, can
you
you?
can. Yes, 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 you can. So I'm so glad you said that, because so we have, so something very easy for couples or families to do is to go take your love language test
Okay.
and see what your primary love languages are. So you can go to www.5lovelanguages.com. I should be getting like a commission every time I send somebody off to this website. But it's super simple to understand what your primary love language is. So like, let's say for me, my primary love languages are acts of service and physical touch. So for me, somebody, like, let's say somebody that I'm dating. So we're gonna play a game. Okay. I'm gonna throw out 3 scenarios and you're gonna tell me which one do you think turns me on. Okay.
Oh, come on. I'm not gay.
No. Thinking as the guy, like, what
Okay.
if a guy said this to me? Which one do you
Okay.
think, who would win?
And you like,
I'm the Bachelorette. Okay, I'm the Bachelorette, and my 3 suitors. Okay, there's 3 suitors. Okay,
got
so
this.
suitor number 1 says, I can't believe we're doing this on Facebook Live.
But you said you like touch and what else?
Physical touch and acts of service.
Acts of service. Okay. Like gifts?
Okay. No, acts of service. Okay, so I'll be fair. I'll be fair and I'll explain what they are. So physical touch is like, obviously, like anything that has to do with the body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Acts of service is anything that helps another person out.
Okay.
Anything that provides support.
Okay.
Words of praise, like you were saying, like telling the person I love you.
Yeah.
And gifts is one, and quality time. So it's physical touch.
The gifts were in there.
It's physical touch, quality time, acts of service, gifts, and words of praise. Okay, so bachelor number 1 says, so let's say it's last night. I'm exhausted. I'm doing laundry, checking my son's homework.
Yeah.
And I still have to clean up the kitchen. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm fried.
Yeah.
Bachelor number 1 says, I want to make love to you on a bed full of roses. Bachelor number 2 says, I just want you to know I think you're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Bachelor number 3 says, I'm coming over tomorrow to paint your wall.
Okay. Well, I think that number 2 would be comforting you, but he hasn't touched you yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if he, was present to hug you and comfort you, that would be better.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I would go with 2.
You would go with number 2. So actually, bachelor number 3 is the one that I would pick, because he's the one that is providing the most support where I need it the most in the moment.
Yeah, that was
whereas like actual support. What?
That was my secondary one, because I had a feeling, but I still think that you like comfort, and I feel like he was supportive than a wall.
So the reason why I say that is because, so my son is, because his dad and I tell him so much how much we love him, that's not a love need that he needs met, because it's constantly being met.
I get you.
So whenever I say to him, Papi, I love you, he's like, yeah, I know, you think I'm wonderful. Like
Yeah.
it's not as meaningful as it is for him, as if I let him sit on my lap while he watches TV.
Right. No,
Like
no, no, no.
he's physical touch.
I think
He's physical touch
everybody
and
needs
quality
to know
time.
this. I think
Yes.
everybody in the world, because I do feel like we don't always communicate exactly what you said, our needs, but we don't always know what they are. So yeah, that makes sense, because my logical brain was like, who gives a shit about your wall? Like, you know, a little bit of support goes a long way, but that was my interpretation of what
And
I
that's
like
exactly.
and no wonder why men get so goddamn confused. I would never date a woman. I'm just kidding.
I know.
So how can people reach you? And like,
Okay.
what do you kind of do, and how can you do that for people?
So people can reach out, send me a message on Facebook. You can find me through my professional page, Marcela Topf Counseling and Coaching.
Okay.
And or you can send me a private message to Marcela Topf.
And I'm gonna put that info on here too, so when people watch, they can. Yeah.
Okay. So right now, this is actually the first time I'm going live and sharing this. So you get to be the first one. I share this publicly, but right now I'm gonna be taking a much deserved vacation.
Wonderful.
So I'm gonna be enjoying the holidays, enjoying my family, enjoying moving in, like relaxing, like just like enjoying loving life right now. And then come the new year, I haven't decided on a launch date, but it's gonna be somewhere in the spring. I'll be launching my first online program.
Yeah.
So yay! So I want to be able to take the beautiful women in my life on this journey of falling in love with their lives, falling in love with themselves, and just knowing how delicious life can be. And so I'm excited. So stay tuned. I will keep you guys posted on what happens next. But that is like really where my heart is I want to be able to help more women in the same amount of time I help my one-on-ones.
And do they have to be a mother?
No, absolutely not. It's any woman who wants to fall in love with her life.
Okay, I like that. I just want to specify, because you probably said this already, but I just kept hearing a lot of mothers, whereas
yes,
I will be at some point, but I have animals. I nurture.
There you go. You are a nurturer. So it's any woman who wants to fall in love with her life and is ready to take her life to the next level.
I love that. Thank you. And I want to pull up a card for you.
Ooh, I love it. Thank you.
But there's always a mirror, so it'll be related to me. It'll be related to everybody watching. Okay. So it says, Merlina, you're confused and indecisive because you do not have enough information. Do research or seek expert advice before making a decision.
I love it. You need to screenshot it and send it to me.
Okay, and I'll post it in the comments. But I kind of feel like it sums up a little bit, and it has a yin yang, like yang and yin and yang in there, the energy of balance, and it feels like this girl has all this like power, right? I would see that as your new group in something brand new that you're doing, and all these people who are kind of like slowly becoming interested. They're kind of like, what's that? And it just feels like there's like a little rabbit, which is usually new beginnings, birthing something, like fertility, things like that.
I love it.
Yeah, and like there's kind of like herbs and plants and butterflies, and like it just feels like you said, the cycles of life, that sort of thing. So one thing I find with these cards is, even though it says certain things on it, it's how it resonates with everybody. It's just a little bit different, but for you, I really feel like it's more about the images, and the dolphins on it make me think of passion and joy, kind of what you said, taking time off and that sort of thing. So I have a feeling you're going to take time off, and this is going to be perfect for the group, because teaching people that if we don't take that time for ourselves, it sums up everything that you've been saying, is like, if you don't do you, nobody can.
yes. And I want to be able to finish what I was telling you earlier about the building.
Yeah.
As you raise your vibration and eventually you get to the penthouse,
Yeah.
right? As you're progressively going up, the view gets better, the experience gets better, the apartment gets better until you're in the penthouse. And then when the doors open up to the penthouse, it is breathtaking. And it's what you said, it gives you total clarity. This actually ties into your card because it's when you're in that place, you have so much clarity. When you're in the basement, you don't have clarity. So our work is to just receive, be soothing, loving, gentle, and let our vibration naturally rise, so that we can get into that place of maximum clarity.
I love
as
that.
As this airplane goes over us.
Yeah.
But
it feels like renewal. I feel like the take home too is to trust that you can put all your crap and baggage down for the holidays and kind of put your own energy, like you're still important, but like to just let all that stuff go that's been weighing you down throughout the year and just allow yourself to embrace that passion that you have for your family or for your friends and the joy that you get from spending time with them or talking to them over Zoom or whatever it is. And starting your 2021 with, as you said, that renewed sense of clarity of what you want moving forward. And we really can't, as you said, get into that place unless we go through all the heaviness that we have to kind of clear out the junk and appreciate, right? Like you said, if you didn't go through those rough patches, you wouldn't be able to help others. So it's seeing the good that comes from the bad, and then starting new, like literally seeing your new year as a new opportunity, a new you. Changing people's hairstyles keeps coming up. I don't know why. Like it's just like get your hair cut, like do something with your hair. Like
that's so me right now. I was telling my friend, I'm like, I need to get a haircut. My hair is so long.
And I need to too. It's just more like you feel better when you feel refreshed, like you have a little snip so it grows even longer. So it's it's like you're not cutting your hair off. You need to cut your hair in order for it to actually be longer. And that's what I think a lot of people don't get. You need to take the time off so you can get further ahead and be more productive. So I hope that you felt like you got to put out what you wanted to today.
Oh, I love this conversation so much, Robin. Thank you for having me
You're
here.
welcome.
This was awesome.
And so I'll put all your info in. So if anybody feels this even quick urge to reach out to you before you're off, or again wants to become more a part of a support system with more people, then they can absolutely find you.
Yay! I love it. Thank you. Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.